I teach a class that has a very long name for it in terms of processes of global environmental change. It's really a class about climate change, because really what I'd like to do is do something where we can think about how this class works and why I do what I do. So I think if we've learned anything over the past year, I think we all probably have become armchair epidemiologists, I'd say. You know, like you probably know more this year, you think, than you do previously. So I want you to just take a moment and write, say, like 4 sentences in any language you want, trying to describe what's happened with the pandemic and why the pandemic is happening. This text editor only allows you to use specific words that are the most common words in the English language. It will underline the word as not allowed if it's too complex of a word. So now I want you to click on that link, go there, and try writing about the same concept. Going back to my class, essentially, the class I teach is climate change. It is not a climate communication class, but it is a class where parents will start asking students about what they're learning in class. If they go home and they talk to their parents about the jargon, that's not going to be helping. And so I have an ulterior motive the way I teach this class, where I'm teaching climate ambassadors who can basically go teach. And this little tool that I shared with you is something I use when actually in a test. And part of the reason why I use it in a test is the test that I give in this class, I don't have short answer tests where they just have to like prove a theorem for me. We have 1-page essay questions, or in this case, I get them to do like a half a page using this. And 2 of the questions, they can use all the jargon they want, and they can talk about it in the ways that we talk about it in class. But 2 of the questions on each test are also non-jargon answers, where they have to filter themselves and think about how to talk about those concepts in a more simple manner. And that is a way just to force them sort of around the corner in communication of the topics. Over time of talking to students about this, they both hate and love these tests. They hate them because they underestimate how much time it takes them to do these tests, because they're like, oh, it's just 4 questions, it won't take me that long. But to put things in your own words takes quite a while, as we all know from writing being difficult. But they will also say, going through that process, they learn it so much better. And so they have to think about it and really articulate it more clearly. And so one thing I wanted to show you was also in terms of this class and how I do things, because this text editor sort of gives you a flavor of my teaching style within this class. And so just to give you an idea of how this class is set up, I chunk what I teach in 3 sections, where we have the physical basis, sort of like how the physics and the chemistry of how climate change happens. And then we talk about the human impact in the center section, and then we go into the future. I purposely use this text editor in the second test, so midway through the semester. And I do that because 1, I need to build trust in the students in that testing style with the first test. And I can't give this sort of humdinger on the first test. And so we need to have that, get them familiar and comfortable with me and my grading style for doing this test. And then we put it on the second test, and I purposely make it second and not third, because I want us to be able to talk about it afterwards. And so this also illustrates another way in which happens in my class, where it's a lot of discussion and back and forth. And so while it's a science class that might have, lots of information coming at you, I try very hard to make it something that is a discussion. To that end, I often, in normal times, would teach it on a whiteboard. I don't use slides. This is also a slightly different thing because it's trying to make it accessible. If I use slides, it can go by too quickly, but also students might not feel like they can recreate that material. So if I am always recreating it on the fly with them in the classroom, I'm just sort of communicating that you too can think through this process and make this information happen. So this semester, because I'm teaching hybrid, I'm actually doing it all on my iPad, where I'm just like I'm on a whiteboard. We're just doing it the same way. And for online teaching, this is actually really useful because I don't upload my PDFs of my notes that I put on my iPad. they have to take notes in class just like we're in a normal classroom. And so the students have been reporting that in online world, they actually pay more attention because they have to take responsibility for their notes. And so this also allows us to take deviations in this class because we don't have fixed outline that we're following because of PowerPoint. So if we get talking about something in discussion, we can go explore. And I just want to do more and more of all of this so that the students feel that like they have a valid voice, but they can also leave the classroom being good communicators. And so that's sort of just an element of the flavor of how I teach this class and whatnot. And so yes, we still have labs where we do lots of data plotting and we do formulas when we talk about things in class. I just don't fully make them generate the formulas. They embed the formulas in their questions on tests, but not always how they do other things.